Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, November 13th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, today we have a great number of things to celebrate. We start in Mont-Richard in France, where we recall Our Lady of Nantuelle, Notre Dame de Nantuelle. This church is said to have a fountain that has healing powers, since the waters were blessed by Saint Martin of Tours, who then used them to baptize converts. Today we also recall the dedication of the Abbey of Bec. The abbey's complete name is Abbey Notre Dame du Bec, the Abbey of Our Lady of Bec. Likewise, in 1695, in Santa Rosa, Ambato, Tunguajauru, Ecuador, we have Our Lady of the Elevation, La Virgen de la Elevación. On this day, Our Lady appeared to the native, the indigenous, Juan Cacarin. The message that he was given was that the town should do penance for their sins, otherwise a great punishment would follow. Unfortunately, the warning was ignored, and just 3 years later, in 1698, a terrible earthquake almost entirely destroyed the city. Since then, devotion to Our Lady has become more serious. In 1475, in Saône-Valais, Switzerland, the commemoration of Our Lady of the Seven Joys, Notre Dame des Sept Joies. On this day, after a miraculous victory in the battle on the Planta, the bishop ordered that this day be remembered in honor of Our Lady of the Seven Joys. Lastly, in the Cathedral of Valencia, in Venezuela, the Virgin of Help of Valencia, La Virgen del Socorro de Valencia, in 1910, on this day, the image was solemnly crowned under the direction of Pope St. Pius X. So for today's reading from The Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we continue considering the corporeal or the bodily heart of Mary. Just as a reminder, yesterday, St. John Eudes spoke about the passions, which sometimes we call the emotions, and how they were completely subject to Mary's will and her reason. Just as these passions were rendered divine in the adorable heart of our Lord Jesus Christ, so were they sanctified most excellently in the holy heart of his Blessed Mother. The fire of divine love, burning day and night in the ardent furnace of this virginal heart, so purified, consumed, and transformed her passions into its own substance, that, as this heavenly fire had no other object save God alone, towards whom it constantly tended with incomparable ardor and impetuosity, so these passions were always turned towards God and exercised in his service. They were moved and led exclusively by the love of God, which possessed, animated, and inflamed them in so marvelous a manner that they became a perpetual and admirable sacrifice in honor of the most blessed Trinity. We may consider the most pure body of Mary as a sacred temple, indeed, as the most august temple that ever was or will be, next to the temple of the sacred humanity of Jesus Christ, her divine Son. We see her virginal heart as the sacred altar of this temple. We behold divine love as the high priest, offering to God uninterrupted sacrifices in this temple and on this altar. We contemplate the divine will, bringing many victims to be sacrificed on this altar of Mary's heart. Among the victims, we distinguish the 11 natural passions, slaughtered by the flaming sword which the high priest holds in his hand, that is, by the efficacy of divine love. They are consumed and transformed into a heavenly fire, which burns upon the altar of her heart. They are immolated to the most holy Trinity in a sacrifice of praise, of glory, and of love. Thus did the great high priest, divine love, sacrifice on the holy altar of Mary's heart all her passions, inclinations, and sentiments of love, hatred, desire, aversion, joy, sadness, hope, distrust, daring, fear, and anger. And this sacrifice commenced the very first instant the holy heart of Mary began to beat in her virginal breast. That is, the very first instant of this Immaculate Virgin's life. It continued uninterruptedly until her last breath, gaining in sanctity and in love with every passing moment. So for today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Saint Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue the meditation on Mary Immaculate, the mystery, and then we come to the second point, the fall. But sin interfered, and all evils arrived. God was not the author of suffering and sorrow. He did not make us for unhappiness, but we ourselves by sin created suffering. Accursed sin, cause of all evil. Recall all the sadness, all the anxieties, sufferings, and tortures of the human heart from Adam till today. Survey all the sicknesses, oftentimes so painful and repugnant, which scourge humanity. Think especially of the cruel agony of death, the humiliation and decay in the tomb. What a horrible picture! And all this due to sin. Compare the happy plan of God with the actual pitiful state of man, oftentimes ruled by brutish passions, which make us similar to the beasts. Victims of sins of all kinds, sometimes even the lowest and most degrading. Loss of sanctifying grace, of immortality, of the sight of God. And then finally hell, the end of such a miserable life. Sin closed heaven. No one was entitled to enter therein. Think well of this, and hence deduce how hideous sin must be if God so punishes it.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.